everyone to the Replicon's webinar on how to validate and approve timesheets with ease as a supervisor or any manager in the Replicon instance. We'll minutes for everybody to join in on the call and on the WebEx, and then we'll proceed. All right, let's talk about the agenda for today's webinar. So we're going to see why approving time is useful and is important in the Replicon instance. We'll see how setting up of timesheet approvals are done in the Replicon instance. We'll see the approval path is followed and how, as an end user, you can check that approval path. And finally, we will see how the approving of timesheet works as a supervisor and as managers in Replicon. During the webinar, you can go ahead and ask any questions that you may have. However, we will also have a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar, and you can chat me with your questions, so I will answer those for you. So let's to look at why approving time can be useful and important from the Replicon's point of view. Number one, it helps you as an approver to review the time that's been entered actually the activities, clients, programs, projects, or tasks. Depending on what you have purchased as modules from Replicon side, you will have either of these available on your timesheets, and you can enter time against them. And as supervisors or managers, you can approve that time or review that time that's been entered. Second, helps you streamline the payroll processing, hence ensuring that the payroll data is submitted and approved in time. So it's important for the payroll processing to happen in time, and since the approval is automated, it's simple. Just go ahead and have a quick look at the timesheets, approve it, and they're available for the payroll processing. Third, you as an approver to edit the time on behalf of the user, ensuring wrong data can be rejected or corrected in time. So it is important that what if the user is not available on the day that you're approving the timesheet, you have the capability of editing the timesheet and making any changes to the incorrect data or rejecting the timesheet that is supposed to be corrected by the user in time as an approver. Finally, clients to review the data entered against their projects before they can be billed for the same. We have a role called client representative in Replicon that can be used by people who are external to your organization or sit at the client side, and can go ahead and approve the timesheets that are going to be used for billing the client that they are the client representatives for. The idea of having a client representative approve the timesheet is that not the entire timesheet goes over to them for approval. It's only the lines that belong to their clients or projects that go over for approval to them. So it's a timesheet that goes over, so you don't have to worry about the confidentiality of the other client and projects mentioned on the timesheet. And as client representatives, you do know what you're approving and what your client will be billed for. So that approve time in Replicon can be helpful. Let's get into the system rather than being in the presentation about how we can set up the timesheet approval paths in Replicon and how they will be followed and implemented in the Replicon system. So I'm going out of the presentation mode now. I'm in the Replicon system right now. Let's move on to the administration section and look upon how the setting up of timesheet approval paths can be done. Under administration, you have the timesheet section where you have the section called timesheet approval paths. You receive the Replicon instance when you sign up for a trial or receive a production instance. We will have few approval paths pre-created based on the modules that you have chosen to buy. In case they don't suit you, you can go ahead and create new approval paths. To add a new approval path, you have the button right here. Click on the Add Approval Path button, and you will have a choice to put in the number of approvers that you want to in this approval path. Now, step is to provide a name and description, and then click on this add sign at step 1. So I click and I have two options. One, I can choose from the specific roles that are available based on my modules. So I have supervisor, project manager, and client representative, taking that I have the project-related modules purchased from the Replicon side. Now here I can specify either of these roles on the step 1, and whoever is my supervisor in my user profile, or whoever is the project manager of the project that I have mentioned or added into my timesheet, or whoever is the client representative at the client side for the client that I've chosen on my timesheet. Either of these roles directly will be picked up and the timesheet will go over to them for approval. So you can choose either one of these roles, or you can go ahead and choose from the next option that is called supervisors. Now, when I click on supervisors, I will see the list of names of people who have been assigned the supervisor permission. If you have an approval path in such a way that it has to go through a specific person in your organization, then that person needs a supervisor permission assigned to them, and you can go ahead and then choose their name in the approval path right here. Adding multiple steps in the approval path, there are two options. One, you can click on the add sign right here next to the step 1 approver that you've added. When you do so, the timesheet is going to go over to the people, or both the roles and the specific supervisors that you've mentioned, and both of them have to approve the timesheet in order to mark it as approved. On the other, you have the second button called Add Approval Step. This is going to add a new step for the approval path, and you can now go ahead and choose the second step here. So now what will happen is that your timesheet is going to go over to the person mentioned in the step 1, and once the person approves it, it's going to move over to the second step approver. So this is ahead and set up your approval path for timesheets in the Replicon system. Now, as end users, it is important that they know who is going to be approving their timesheets. As end users, for each timesheet that you have in the system, you have a link at the top. It's called See All Approvers. You can click on this link and you would see the list of people who are going to be approving your timesheet. In your approval path contains the project manager or client representative. Their names will not show up unless you enter a project or client are respective to them in this approval path. The moment you do that, their names will start appearing in the See All Approvers section as well. So that is check your approval flow, or whether the timesheet is going to go over to the right approver or not. Now, the different managers and supervisors who can go ahead and approve the timesheets in the Replicon system. Now, there are people who can approve it. The first 3 people who can be added to the approval path are supervisors, project managers, and client representatives. All these will have one tab common in their Replicon instance if they are part of the approval process. And that tab is the Team tab that you see on the top right here. So click on the Team tab right here, and there you're going to see the approvals for the timesheets. Time off and expenses, of course, will be added to the page if you have those as well. Timesheet approvals are listed out here. You can go ahead and approve the timesheets directly. However, if you want to approve all the timesheets that you have listed as a supervisor or project manager or the client representative, you can either go ahead and check the boxes one by one, or instead of doing that, check the box next to user, and all the users' timesheets get selected at once, and you can go ahead and mark it as approved or rejected. You want to review the timesheet before it gets submitted, because you want to have a quick look at what's been entered in the timesheet. You can click on the name of the user, and you'll be taken to the page where the entire timesheet details will be listed out. You can have a quick look at the timesheets, and if you want to change anything, you will have to click on this button called the Reopen button. Once the timesheet, you'll be able to edit it, you'll be able to make changes to it, but remember that because you're making an action on the timesheet, your actions will be recorded in the approval history section. So mention who reopened the timesheet, when the timesheet was reopened, and if there are any comments that you input while reopening it, those will be mentioned here as well. Now, post the changes that you make after reopening the timesheet. If you would like to go ahead and resubmit the timesheet, you can go ahead and do that. After you resubmit the timesheet, it's not going to come back to you for approval because you are the approver and you reopened and you resubmitted the timesheet. The system understands that the changes were made by the actual approver, and it directly marks the timesheet as approved post your resubmission action in the system. Moreover, you move the timesheet to approved, rejected, or open or submitted status. Anything apart from waiting for approval status, the timesheet is going to go off from this page and it's going to move on to the tab called the Timesheet Tab. Now you will have a look at all the timesheets that you have marked as rejected or approved if you're a project manager or a client representative. And if you're a supervisor, this section can also be used by you to go ahead and have a quick look at all the timesheets that have been created by your users or your supervisees in the system. Now, irrespective of what the status is, you will see all timesheets listed out here as supervisors. You can mark the timesheets as approved or rejected, or review the timesheet from this page as well. As managers and client representative, this page is only going to show you the timesheets that you've approved or rejected. And in case somebody submits it again, you can go to the approvals tab, mark it as approved, come to this page and see all the timesheets that you've approved. Now, that's supervisor, project manager, and client representative approvals, those who follow the approval path. But there will be instances when you are not part of the approval flow and you're required to approve or reject the timesheet, or force approve or reject the timesheet, as we call it in Replicon. Multiple roles which you can use in order to do that. The first of those is the cost management or the cost manager role that you have in Replicon. So if you're module of Replicon, you will see a cost management tab out here, and you will see the list of all the timesheets that are waiting for approval in the system, or all timesheets irrespective of the status in the all section right here. You can force approve or force reject the timesheets by just going over here, checking the box, and the buttons will be activated for you to go ahead and take those actions. But you have to have the cost manager permission in order to do that. Plus, your permission should have given you the access to go ahead and approve or reject the timesheets in the system. What allows you to do that is the billing manager role. So you have the billing manager having the access to the billing tab. In here, you have a timesheet tab apart from the invoicing tab or the invoicing that you do in the Replicon system. The timesheet section, again, just like how you see a view as a cost manager, you will have a quick look or a quick view of the timesheets as a billing manager in the system. The reason manager has access to the timesheets and has to have access to approving timesheets or rating it is because of the invoicing that they have to perform in the Replicon instance. It is important that the timesheet is approved in order to have it included on an invoice. And if the supervisor is not available or if the approver is not available, it is important that the billing manager force approves or force rejects timesheets so that it can be included on the invoice. Have a quick look at the timesheets at billing. You simply have to go ahead and click on the timesheet period. You will be taken to the timesheet and the entire view of the timesheet will be listed out here. Plus, you can go ahead and mark the timesheet as approved by just going ahead and clicking on the buttons right next to the timesheet period and marking the timesheets as approved or rejected directly from these buttons. The last you can use in order to approve the timesheets or review the timesheets is that of a payroll manager. A payroll manager gets access to this one called the Payroll Tab that you see on the top right here. You will have the timesheet tab along with the other tabs that are listed. You now go ahead and mark the timesheets as approved or rejected directly from this page in the same way as you did as a billing or a cost manager. Right. So reason why we have a payroll manager have access to these is because of the payroll processing that they have to perform. So if there's any timesheet that's still waiting and has to be approved, then you can go ahead and force approve or force rejected directly in the system right here. Right. How you can go ahead and approve or review timesheets in Replicon as supervisors, project managers, client representatives, and different other managers. We are open to questions. So your line have been muted. You can chat with me. My name is Ashni. Just send me your questions and I will answer